We're going to talk about forgiveness, which is, one of my very favorite topics. Oh, my kitty is so upset. I forgot to give him catnip. Hello there. Hello, and welcome. My name is Lee Cara. Let's get rid of that. There I am. Welcome to Unleash Your Light, Georgia. I'm very happy that you are here. I hope that everyone is having a fabulous week. Oh, wait a minute. Let's get rid of that one. There we go. Okay. I hope everyone is having a fabulous week. It has been a very interesting 2 weeks for me. That equinox, y'all, it really messed with my brain, with my neurological stuff, with my development, but in a good way. In a good way. I'm going to, own this as if it is in a good way. Hi, Stephen. Welcome. I hope all of you are doing well. Please make sure that you jump in. Let me know that you are here. We are still in this building stage back on my own page after the move from the Akashic Academy back over here. But I had a whole show planned today, y'all. Let me tell you. Let's just have story time for a minute, okay? Hashtag story time. So I had a whole show planned. And if you guys have listened to me for a while, which Georgia, I know you've been here a lot. Hi, Monica. I usually do not plan my shows at all, right? But I've had this one kind of spinning around in my brain for about 3 or 4 weeks. I was going to make it a special thing that I did in the evening, but I decided, let me just do this in the morning. I already, know the path. I've already been thinking about this theory that popped into my brain as I was watching this particular movie. And so I was all set to do that. We just had our first orb, y'all. Did you see that? Yeah, they're happy. So I saw something on the news this morning that made me completely flip my lid. Hi, Cindy. Welcome. Made me completely flip my lid. Made me completely the universe gave me that sign. Everybody has their own kind of indicators. I'm sure that you guys know and have that little indicator when that universe gives you that message, right? When you get that message. For me, I get the goosebumps all over and I start to hear the voice going, now. You know that we are driving the bus here. You know that you need to be doing what we're asking you to do. But when I saw this, I was so moved beyond. Good morning, Teresa. And if Carla is here, I see someone saying hello to Carla. Good morning to Carla. Please jump in and say hello. This is a great group of people that come in and watch my shows and get the message from the universe. It's very casual. It's very easygoing, y'all. Don't be scared, okay? All right, so let's pop up this agenda here. So I decided, let me do something a little bit different. Well, different than I thought I was going to do. We're going to talk about forgiveness, which is, one of my very favorite topics. Oh, my kitty is so upset. I forgot to give him catnip. Anyways, so that we are always talking about forgiveness, empathy, unconditional love. Those are, I would say, the trinity of emotional healing in this awakening. Forgiveness, empathy, unconditional love. Trinity of healing, right? But I haven't done a show on something standard, the foundations, in a while. And I saw something this morning that really, man, it got me. It really got me. And when I watched this, I'm lying there on the couch, tears running down my face, goosebumps on both arms. And I knew they were saying to me, you need to talk about forgiveness. Now, the last show I did was how spirituality can save the world in a practical way. And I did talk about current events, and I talked about the way that people are looking at situations. I talked about empathy. I talked about all these kind of things that tie into our real world. There's Carla. Mwah. I talked about all these things that tie into our real world. So we're going to go back to a difficult topic, which is forgiveness. And I will warn you up front, a lot of people disagree with me on my forgiveness stand, and they run. They curse me out. They leave as soon as I start talking about it. But I thought it was really important to bring this up again. We have so much going on, not just here in the States, but all over the world, right? Hi, Christy, welcome. All over the world, there are this separation that is happening, where those who were going down the path towards fear-based emotions, greed, corruption, anger, violence, are getting more in that direction. And those who are seeking light and peace and love and the universe and divine and God, or whatever, Fred, whatever you like to call it, are going more in that direction. And the middle ground is starting to fade away, kind of like the middle class in the United States, but that's a topic for a different type of show. So this middle ground is starting to go away. There's no more sitting the fence. And I know Teresa has said this many times, like, you got to pick a side. We may not be saying it about the same thing, but you got to pick a side. You cannot be a fence sitter and neutral in this situation. You have to embrace love. You have to embrace joy. You have to embrace peace. You have to be willing to not just say, I want that in the world, but to embrace it within yourself. And what I saw this morning was a perfect example of this. So I'm going to go ahead and share it right now. And let's see here. I'm going to figure out how to use this, and we're going to do this. Okay. There we go. This one and there. I'm still getting through this. This was the most amazing piece of video that, to me, really told the story of forgiveness. Really told the story of forgiveness in a real way. Because often in our regular lives, what we're forgiving people for is for hurting our feelings, for physically hurting us, for lying, cheating, stealing. Not very many of us, or on a grand scale, on an abstract scale, we're forgiving someone who shoots, who's a shooter. We forgive people who are terrorists. All of those things. Those are the things that people go, no, out. You know what I'm saying? Please stick with me, okay? I am going to pull this up. I saw this morning, and it was just the most, we're going to put me little down in the corner. It moved me to no end. So let's go ahead and give this a play. So he's maybe I should give you some background first. There was a shooting in Texas. Just one person was shot, but a white woman went into the wrong apartment, opened the door like it was hers. She lived a floor down. I think she was under the influence. I'm not sure. Please don't yell at me. And she walked in and found a black man sitting at her counter eating ice cream, and she shot him and she killed him. Well, it turns out she was in his apartment. She was not in her own apartment. She thought he was an intruder. He was not an intruder. He lived there. This is the victim's brother. And this was during court. She just got sentenced. I believe she got 10 years. And this was the victim's brother coming up to speak about the shooter, about the person who shot and killed his brother. So I'm going to go ahead and run this. And I want you guys to just kind of absorb the emotion, the energy, and what he's saying here. It's about a second or two in, so you can see the words there. If you are truly sorry, that's what he's starting off with. So,
We are sorry. I know. I can speak for myself. I forgive you, and I know if you go to God and ask Him, He will forgive you. And I don't think anyone could say it. Again, I'm speaking for myself, not even bad for my family. But I love you just like anyone else. And I'm not gonna say I hope you rot and die just like my brother did, but I see, I personally want the best for you, and I wasn't gonna ever say this in front of my family or anyone, but I don't even want you to go to jail. I want the best for you because I know that's exactly what both of them would want you to do. And the best would be give your life to Christ. Again, I love you as a person, and I don't wish anything bad on you. I don't know if this is possible, but can I give her a hug, please? Please?
Yes.
Whew, you guys. Yeah. So that really, I mean, it moved me. And it really, sorry, it was really like the most tangible expression. Kitty, you're going to have to get down off the couch, off of the thing. He knows I'm upset. And he's like, I want to come and comfort you. No, no, please don't. Okay, hop down. Hop down, fatty. Thank you. It was really like the most tangible expression of forgiveness for something that I think I've ever seen, like in real life, you know, as a real person actually expressing their pain and their forgiveness. And we do see it from time to time when people are hurt, when children are hurt, and we'll see their parents go on and talk about how they forgive the person who hurt their child, killed their child. Like in El Paso with the shooters, the young lady in the hospital was talking about how she forgives him. Forgiveness is one of the most important things that we can embrace in our lives. And we don't have to have something tragic happen for us to embrace forgiveness in our everyday life. We don't. I've seen multiple incredibly rude, horrible, mean, nasty memes directed towards that particular shooter. And I mean, I get it. I get the anger. We are now in a society where I just talked about the ones that are going towards fear and violence are getting more and more that way. They don't like that we're not going in that direction. And those people that are left in the middle, they're almost being cultivated by either side. And so this side that is going towards anger and fear and corruption and greed and pain and violence and control, they stoke the fires of prejudice. They stoke the fires of discrimination. They stoke the fires of anger and injustice. They take these things that happen and they use them for their own agenda. They use them to push people into a state of fear. Now, what happens when we exist in a state of fear? We react differently, don't we? We get in a defensive mode where our wall is up. Our sword is drawn. Maybe we have a machine gun, a Tommy gun on this side. Rat-tat-tat-tat-tat. When we get in our space of fear, it allows that anger to rise to the surface. It allows that past pain of injustice in your own life to rise to the surface. And all of those times that you may have felt marginalized, or all of those times that these people that are vulnerable to shifting in that direction have been marginalized, they then pick up those torches. They are the ones who start yelling and screaming and being angry and being rude and going down this road, not necessarily because of what has just happened, but rather because of how it starts. It pushes the start button on their own experiences of injustice, in their own experiences of being marginalized, in their own places where they felt like they were not heard. And that pulls it to the surface. We do this in our relationships as well. When somebody does something today that triggers something that happened years ago, and you should be on 2 when you're talking to them about it, and instead you're on 15, this is you're mad about what happened then. You're not as mad about what happened now, but you equate them as being the same. And it is a very, very dangerous space to be in when we start doing that, because people who are not self-aware don't recognize that the reason they're getting so mad about XYZ is because they were picked on in elementary school 40 years ago. People who are not self-aware don't understand how this trigger connects to something that happened so long ago, that wire connects them. And it's very dangerous. It's very dangerous, especially when you have those people that are heading towards fear and corruption and pain and greed, using that fear and that lack of self-awareness to perpetuate their own agendas forward. Let's look at some of these comments. I see that Georgia put a big one here. Many years ago, she says, I heard a spiritual leader explain what was happening, and she said it's like 2 trains heading down the track, one filled with chaos and the other filled with light, and both go through the veil. And those who choose not to awaken stay in this world, and the other lives in the new paradigm. I've heard a lot of people talk about this, about the new earth and the new paradigm. It's very interesting, very interesting. I personally don't know enough about it to speak with authority. However, what I do believe is that our mission, those who are awakened, is to embody the trinity of emotions: forgiveness, empathy, and unconditional love. And because we are constantly broadcasting, all of us are constantly broadcasting all of our thoughts and emotions out into the world, that is a proven fact. And I've said it many times. Everyone knows someone who walks in the room and everyone's like, oh God, I can't stand this chick. And everyone knows someone who walks in the room and they're like, woohoo! Now that person hasn't said a thing, but they affect the room with their energy, and that's because they're broadcasting. So I do believe that us, as the awakened, we are the ones who are meant to shift the frequency that we are broadcasting. And when enough of us are shifting that broadcasting like big bubbles, I feel like when they touch, everything's going to poof and something's going to shift. The world, the reality that we live in, the paradigm that we're in, this what is that? The hamster wheel that we keep going through and feeling like, when is this going to be over? I feel like it's going to pop. Not that it's over, but that it's a new beginning. And those who talk about the age of Aquarius is about new beginning. And again, that's not a topic I know a lot about. Carla says, this young man stands alone. He is one and has a direct connection with divine guidance, pure heart. And that is a very, very good comment. In fact, let's put this up here while I chat about this. This particular young man asked her to give her life to Christ. Now, those of us in the awakening know that Christ is the embodiment of unconditional love. Whether you believe in him as an actual historical man, whether you believe in him as an allegory to teach unconditional love, whether you understand him as an energy force, however it is that you relate to unconditional love, that is what this young man embraced. unconditional love, love without conditions. And in that space of unconditional love, he was able to use his empathy to understand what happened and to understand what the other person, what this woman was going through as the shooter, what she was going through. Can you imagine going out with your friends in the evening, having fun, and then coming home and being drunk and stumbling up the stairs, and you took an Uber and you barely got there, and you think you're going to open your door and go in and just fall on your bed. You're not even going to change your clothes. And instead you open your door and there's some strange man standing there and you are plastered out of your mind. Now, and then something terrible happens. The next day, imagine waking up with that hangover and those consequences of your night. The consequences of a night out drinking should only be a hangover. Puking on the floor, maybe. And yet here this woman wakes up and she's murdered someone. And if you can think about how easy that could happen to any person who owns a firearm, or carries a knife, or anything along those lines. If you can imagine how easy it is, it would be, there but for the grace of God go I, right? And this young man was able to access his own connection to the Christ, to unconditional love, and forgive this woman. He saw the peace of God in her. He recognized the pain that she was going through. He used his empathy, even in his own pain. And he said several times in it, I don't think my family would say this. I wasn't going to say anything. And yet he did. And yet he did. Let's see. The collective picture in our heads is what will generate more of the same. Absolutely. Absolutely. These are the moments that we, as the awakened, can take some encouragement from. These are the moments that we, as the awakened, can promote, can speak on, can share. Every single awakened person should be sharing that clip on their Facebook, their Instagram. They should be applauding this young man, and they should be encouraging every person out there who looked at this woman and cursed her out and sent so much hatred towards her, and shift that perspective. Offer an alternate. Offer something other than hatred and anger in a situation that is so painful. But so many of us, it feels good to jump on the bandwagon and have other people feel the way that we feel. And so many of us will jump in and say horrible things to people and judge them and judge their actions. And many of these people are Christians, are very, very Christians, because they believe it's their duty to judge. They believe it is their duty to point out when someone else is doing wrong. Directly to them, by the way. This is a perfect example of forgiveness in the 3D world. So who do you have in your life that you have not yet forgiven? Who in your world hurt you beyond what you could possibly imagine? I really want you to think on that. Yes, Christy, peace is so much more important. I really think it's important that we look at what this young man has been able to do in his life and reflect that back on us. Because he is an example of this younger generation that is coming up, that is so much closer to the light than we were when we were that age. These kids that were born in that 2000-ish year and up, they're so much closer to love, to acceptance of others. They're even closer to acceptance of themselves, even though, of course, they still struggle. They understand that people go through things, and they understand that that person is a person, just like me. They don't look at that and think that's not a person. And maybe it's because they're raised in this digital age. So to them, a person on a screen is just as real as the person that's sitting next to them, sometimes more real. And it is through that connection of understanding that the person behind the screen is still a person that empathy comes from. Yes, Stephen. Oh, Stephen, you're preaching my words right there. Oh my goodness, you are preaching the message. The hardest person to forgive is ourselves. Absolutely. Absolutely. If you are in this space of not being able to forgive others, I would take a very good look at the grudges you are holding against yourself. Look very closely at why you can't forgive someone. And it's never about what they did. And let's just go back to forgiveness for a minute. And Cindy, absolutely. Cindy, that's the most beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. It is a horrible, terrible, catastrophic loss. But you are 1,000% correct that your daughter would not want you to have anger in your heart. That forgiveness was not for the truck driver. That forgiveness was not for the truck driver. That forgiveness was for Cindy. It was for Cindy. And it was for the memory of her daughter. And it was so that Cindy could move forward in this world with love in her heart, with peace on her soul, with empathy oozing from every pore in her beautiful body. And it's very difficult. And if you have problems forgiving others, if you can't see yourself doing that, if you're looking at me right now going, this chick is crazy, I could never forgive that person who did XYZ to me, they will rot in hell before I forgive them. You need to turn those eyes on yourself. You need to look at yourself in the mirror and say, what is it that I haven't forgiven myself for? And that is one of the hardest questions we can ask, because we hide that stuff very well. We hide that stuff, that pain, those hurts, that anger. We dig down deep and hide it. And I'm going to share something with you guys. When this equinox hit, I've always had lots of voices in my head, a peanut gallery full of voices going constantly, like standing in a food court that echoes, okay? And standing in that food court with it echoing all the time, and then my voice, and then I would hear Divine's voice a little louder because I learned how to listen for it. And I would hear the voice of criticism and judgment from people in my family. I've always had that. I'm used to it. I existed in that space with all of that sound for my entire life. I'm 49. So when the equinox came and I did my little evening ritual and I asked for, my next level, and I'm ready and I'm open for learning, and I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm here. When I woke up the next morning, there was silence. There was complete and utter silence in my brain. And I have to say, it was the strangest sensation and rather lonely, to be honest, because I had never actually sat in silence, even when it was silent. And I truly believe that the silence is part of my next step on the journey and part of moving forward. Now, in that silence, now when a thought comes up, some nonsense thing, it's right there. It doesn't rumble in the background, like you're still mad at so-and-so for doing XYZ to you. Like normally if it's rumbling back here, it's pretty quiet because there's a lot of other voices and voice of divine and my voice and TV and sounds and music, whatever it is, right? And that thing back there kind of was like hoarded, kind of was like on the bottom of the pile with all this other stuff on top. But being in the silence has brought those moments forward, has brought that emotion forward. Anger is an emotion I've always struggled with, and I've talked to you guys about that. I don't get angry easily. I don't do it well. I don't know how to feel it in my body and allow it to come out and purge it. And I ate my anger, and I self-punished, and I was a cutter, and I did a lot of things to try to cope with anger prior to my awakening. So this anger came up, and I noticed myself saying little smart-ass comments to drivers on the road. And I noticed myself bringing up in my mind arguments that I had years ago with my soon-to-be ex, and having these conversations, being angry about them when they're long past and I've forgiven. And yet I hadn't purged that anger. I didn't allow the anger to come up. And it's okay for forgiveness and anger about what happened to go hand in hand. Because you can be angry and still love unconditionally. But when your anger comes from fear, when your anger is fear-based because of I'm going to lose something, I'm going to be hurt by someone, that's where it takes a turn. That's where we have the issues and it goes in the other direction. Forgiveness and anger tend to go hand in hand. But look at what you're holding on to. Look at why you're still angry about it. And if you're saying, I'm not angry about it anymore, but I'm still not going to forgive them, rethink that. Look at it a little deeper. Because you can also forgive someone and not have anything to do with them. You can choose to forgive and also choose to end the relationship. You can choose to forgive and decide that that friendship is not going to be the same and I'm really just not going to engage. All of those things are valid and fine and okay. And I'm certainly not saying that you should be all lovey-dovey and just forgive everything and let everybody walk all over you. There are such things as boundaries, but you get to choose where they are. And when you choose them, you need to be choosing them through that space of the Trinity, unconditional love, empathy, and forgiveness, as to your highest good and their highest good. When we hold on to that anger, when we hold on to that pain, not only are we doing that to someone else, sending out that energy to someone else, our energy, our divine knows that our natural state is unconditional love. And so when we hold on to that anger, it causes friction with that unconditional love. It keeps us in a space where we're not quite able to get over that hump. Those things that you hold on to, that pain that you're nurturing in your heart, those people that you won't forgive, it's never about them. It's about your healing. It's about you being able to release that and let it go. Forgiveness in a 3D world with everything that is happening right now, from destroying the environment to the extinction of so many species that you can't even keep count of anymore, to children in cages, to people without health care and without insulin dying because of big business, because of things that are out of our control. All of these things, it would be natural to be angry about them. It is natural to want to scream and yell and fight about them. there's a difference between getting angry and spitting your hatred and spitting your anger out, or self-inflicting it, and understanding, forgiving those who are doing this, and then standing up in action to do something about it, or looking inward in action to shift our own perspective. Because Be the Change in the World is really about you actually embodying the change, each and every one of you. And I know it's difficult, but I know that you can do it. Whew! Oh, that was a heavy one, you guys. So you can always find me here on Thursdays at 10 a.m. I know that I have been slightly absent lately. However, things are changing, things are moving. For those of you who don't know, my book is going to go into print for the very first time, Unleash Your Light. It's simple things you can do to overcome these emotional obstacles. Just easy, simple things you can do in your everyday life. I hope that you will share this with your friends. I hope that you will share that video of that young man. I hope that you will talk about it in your circles. Talk about forgiveness in a real way. When people look at you with a side eye, do not feel judged. Send them peace. They don't understand yet, but your energy can shift their perspective. Your energy, that energy of divine flowing through you, can crack the door in the person next to you who doesn't understand yet. I love every single one of you. I'm super, super grateful for you guys. I think I'm going to be starting a bunch of new things here coming up. I'm really going to try to jump into this. I got to run. I will see you very, very soon. Please follow me on YouTube. I'm up to 53 subscribers. I want to hit 100. When I hit 100, let's see what'll happen when I hit 100. When I hit 100, I will give away a couple of books for free. And find me, follow me. Let's do this, you guys. Let's spread this word. Let's go beyond Facebook and do it in real life. Forgive the people around you. Embrace unconditional love. Broadcast your connection with the universe every single day. Love you guys.